In today's video, I am going to be breaking down Bronny James and his basketball shooting form. I'm going to be breaking down why it's actually good, why I like it, and obviously, I personally kind of like his shooting form. There's nothing really wrong with it. He had a really bad shooting slump recently, but let's get down, let's check this out. Okay, so right here, he's coming off of a dribble handoff. He takes a dribble right there, and then he takes a second dribble, and then he pulls up for his shot. Now, he's getting slightly blocked right here. However, there's a few things that I do like in this clip right here, and that is the fact that he is going pretty well straight up. He's not leaning one way or the other like some players do when they're going through a shooting slump. His shoulder and elbow are in line with the rim, and the ball is pretty well over top of his upper arm. These are the things that I do like. I like also that his hand is on the side of the ball. I know there's a lot of players that are starting to put their hands more on top of the ball. I'm not too sure where this is coming from, but having your hand on the side of the ball will allow you to have a nice release, no thumb flick, and he finishes with his elbow above his forehead, which is a really solid shooting form from the front. From the side, however, there's a few things that I really do want to break down and explain to players. So first off, he's coming off of the dribble handoff here. He's basically sitting right down 90 degrees, and I understand that the old school way of thinking is to have your knees at 90, your hips at 90. However, the reason why this is actually good and why more players should actually start shooting like this is not from your normal shot. This is too low for your normal shot. The reason why he's getting low is because his momentum is taking him in this direction. He wants to turn this momentum into this momentum. So by getting low, that's going to allow you to transition the momentum of you going forward into going up. I also like the fact that his elbow, if we watch it really slow, it stays at the same angle as it was down here. The fewer movements, the better. Now, there's a few other things too. Now, when he is jumping for his shot, he's getting quite a bit higher than most players. Now, a lot of players, they're not going to be getting as high as he is. He's probably up in the air maybe 16 to 18 inches. Most players' jump shots are only going to be maybe 12 inches off the ground. He's getting quite a bit higher. Now, the reason being is obviously he's got a very long defender in front of him. However, he's only 6'1", and at the NBA level, you need to get up a bit higher if you are 6'1". Now, I'm 6'2". I made the D-League, but I remember, this was like 15 years ago, but I remember needing to get up higher or else I was going to get my stuff blocked all day long. He also kind of leans back with his shoulders, feet slightly forwards. Now, this sometimes, in most cases, will give you slightly more power. Believe it or not, by swaying your feet forward and your shoulders slightly going back. Now, this is not a massive tilt. Like if this was straight up, which that's the closest to straight up as I'm going to get, he's only maybe 7 degrees off. This is not a massive tilt. He also, the other thing that I like is his legs don't turn, his legs don't cross, his legs don't open up. A lot of weird things that some players do, but for him, the right leg just slightly sways out to the front. That can help his right arm get better in line as well, potentially. And then the drop on the ball, which is the most important. So the drop on the ball right here is, I'm going to redraw that, around 41 degrees to the middle of the ball. The reason why this is actually very important is because you need to be between 40 and about 44 to be perfect. If you can get that ball within that 44 to 40 degree range, what that's basically doing for you is if the ball drops from too high, let's say it's a really high 60 or maybe a 50 degree drop, something crazy. While that rim may look perfectly circular to the ball, there's a lot of gravity coming down onto that rim from that ball, which means that if it hits the rim, it's probably going to bounce out at a higher percentage. Meanwhile, if it's coming in at a too shallow of a distance, let's say 20 degrees, that rim is going to look like this to the ball, which means that it's got a higher chance of hitting the rim and bouncing out. Coming down at around that 40 degree range, that rim is going to look pretty round to the ball. This is all physics, but the rim is going to look pretty round. It's probably going to look something similar to that. My drawings are not the greatest. The one thing it's not going to do is look perfectly circle, but that ball is going to have a greater chance of going into the basket. You can also increase your rotation of the spin to allow it to hit the rim even softer as well. Now, coming from this angle, this is actually a pretty good angle because it's actually kind of interesting. So on a regular shot, he gets kind of low, right? But his knees tend to come in just a bit together. Now, what this can do for you is that it can actually help you actually get into the air much faster. Now, that may seem and sound really weird. However, there's been a couple of studies on it. A lot of older school coaches say if your knees come together, it's a higher, greater chance of injury. But there's been a lot of studies on that, and it doesn't show that there's a greater chance of injury. If anything, it could help you get more springier up in the air, but this is not something that everyone can do. This is something that is programmed into your body from birth. Now, going up into his shot, it's all one motion, sort of. He kind of stops, and I know everyone's saying online it's one motion. I would personally have this as a two motion. He stops just slightly right there, right above his right eye. However, when he goes up into his shot, he has a nice soft release, which will give it more rotation and more arc, but if you were to have a hard release, it'll give you even more rotation. If you kind of have like one of these like weird kind of shot put style shots, that's the problem. But having a soft release, as Bronny James does, will allow you to have overall a better shot. He tends to keep his arm up as well. We can see that in a lot of clips. He keeps his arm up, so-called in the cookie jar. What this does for you, keeping that arm, that shooting arm up that we see right there, that ingrains into your head that it should be a straight shot, but it does help with making it become a straight shot. Now, the players who pull their arms back fast every once in a while, we don't see Bronny James doing that, but that can be a quicker release. However, generally speaking, keeping your arm up like this will allow you to have a straighter shot overall. If you like the idea of me being able to write on the screen, make sure to go check out Coach Lens. That is down in the description below. That's the app that I am using. However, make sure to go check out my shooting workout that is down there as well if you want to be able to shoot the ball from further away. I'll see you guys again in my next video.